Taking reserve, Romeo of Fire. Romeo of Fire, owned by the Springwater Farms. National Champion, Mr. Matrix, owned by Judith Niedzalkowski. Reserve Champion, A Fire's Freedom. A Fire's Freedom, owned by Deborah Pearson. National Champion, Sparkle and Shine, LC. Sparkle and Shine, owned by Tennis and Francisca Stridham. Reserve Champion, A Fire Goddess. A Fire Goddess, owned by the Schuster Arabians. And winning it all, Maestro D. Maestro D, owned by David Pease. Reserve Champion, JDM Rain Dance. Rain Dance, owned by Leanne Flynn. Your National Champion, JKF McGregor. Nikki Reeder Waldschmidt is the owner. Reserve Champion, EA My Bay Berry. My Bay Berry, owned by the Empress Arabians. National Champion, Mandalay Bay. Mandalay Bay, owned by Jeff and Heather Johns. Your Reserve Champion, Roxbury. Roxbury, owned by Norma Diver. And taking the championship, your National Champion, Silent Steel. Silent Steel, owned by Dylan McFan. Reserve Champion, MD Pro Equus. Pro Equus, owned by Leah Beth Boyd. And your National Champion, KRA Damage. Damage, owned by the Hawkhaven Farms. Reserve Champion, EA Galaxy. Galaxy, owned by Karen and Olivia Stahl. And your National Champion, Bayberry Love. Bayberry Love, owned by Vicky Humphrey. Trotting off with the reserve, Stravinsky X. Wendy Collins owns the horse. And your repeat National Champion, Bayberry Love. Bayberry Love, owned by Vicky Humphrey. Reserve Champion, Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis, owned by Cassie and Tatum Rehorn. National Champion, HR Belated. HR Belated, owned by Alicia and Adele Kinney. The reserve, JK Famous. JK Famous, owned by the John and Karen Sparks Revocable Trust. National Champion, Second Sultan. Second Sultan, owned by Carmen Gardner. Taking reserve, SL Cappuccino. Cappuccino, owned by Michael and Debbie Natick. And winning it all, your National Champion, Amazing Fame V. Amazing Fame V, owned by the White Rock Farms. Reserve Champion Megastar. Megastar, owned by the Paper Chase Farms. National Champion Masquerade, PA. Masquerade, owned by the Pegasus Arabians. Reserve Champion Serenata. Serenata, owned by Alice and Sandra Jackson. National Champion Shah Lexer. Shah Lexer, owned by Taylor Wallace. Reserve Champion RVR Authentic Chemo. Authentic Chemo, owned by Margaret Lucas. And your national champion moving up a place, Serenata. Serenata, owned by Alice and Sandra Jackson. Reserve Champion was definitely minding their P's and Q's. Minding P's and Q's, owned by Richard Ames. And your national champion has what it takes. What it takes, your national champion, owned by the Wolf Springs Ranch. Reserve Champion Z Sandy Bay. Sandy Bay, owned by Susan Carter. National Champion Mr. Maserati. Maserati, owned by Juliana, Lois, and Stephen Hill. Reserve Champion Classical Cow. Classical Cow, owned by Daniel and Summer Rupley. National Champion HF Zinson Del Rey. Zinson Del Rey, owned by William Dudley. Reserve Champion AM Scheherazade. Scheherazade, owned by David and Christine Karazi. Your national champion Parade V. Parade V, owned by Felix and Kathleen Camacho. Reserve Champion Amin. Amin, owned by Daniel and Summer Rupley. And moving up a spot, your national champion AM Scheherazade, owned by Christine and David Karazi. Reserve Champion Kakim Sahib. Kakim Sahib, owned by Julie Klug. National Champion American Eagle. American Eagle, owned by Gary and Nancy Howard. Reserve Champion Night Musk. Night Musk, owned by Betty Fawcett. And your champion, once again, Parade V. Parade V, owned by Felix and Kathleen Camacho. Reserve Champion Rage of Fire. Rage of Fire, owned by the Fairway Farm. Your national champion Vallejo Celebrity. Vallejo Celebrity, owned by Kathy Hart.